Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rational Investors Weekend Frivolity, our broiler chicken show. Why do we call it Broiler Chicken Show? Why not? Sounds like a perfectly reasonable name for a show about trading. But, for whatever it's worth, I used to work with guys who used to trade just the craziest futures products. And they tried about 3 or 4 attempts to try and get the broiler chickens show broiler chickens contract traded on the CME with the live hogs, and now I think they call them lean hogs, although I think that's a total political ploy. And feeder cattle and pork bellies. You don't hear anybody trading about pork bellies anymore, though. And live cattle. So anyway, I used to work with one guy who used to always trade butter futures. And he used to always joke about that was John Boudreal. I think his name was John. Anyway, from Structural Logic. Really smart guy. Anyway, so I call this show the Broiler Chicken Show because what the heck? Take me back to my old futures trading days. But anyway, so good morning, everybody. No idea how long this show is going to be. It should, ironically enough, according to YouTube, I should keep these things under like 20 minutes, eh? Good luck. Arr, arr, arr. But anyway, we'll have some fun. Really, the point of this weekend show was to, number one, if any of the level oneers, and they're slowly working through the course material. They're now finishing their momentum studies. They did a week on volume momentum, and then 2 weeks on price momentum. So I sure hope they feel momentumed out. What do you think, guys? Does a divergence now? Does it make sense in all of our oscillators? And I see we do have a few level oneers here in the actual hangout with me here. So if you do have any further questions, Grimm's fantastic level one instructor. But if there was anything that you sort of felt like was still unanswered, please take the opportunity now and speak up. Speak now or forever hold your peace, as they say. What's this? Ned says, is bull market confirmed today? Read Da Vinci's show yesterday. Actually, I have no idea because I did not watch his show yesterday, so I haven't got a clue what he said. What I will say is that we did do a Coinigy show recently, and Da Vinci was sort of our fundamental speaker there. He was feeling uppy, but I noticed that probably within about 2 or 3 hours of the long setup that we were talking about off of like the hourly charts, they went and busted that formation. So I was wondering if maybe I had that chart on my screen, but it doesn't look like it. So I think we got to sort of cool our jets with regard to the bull case just for the time being. And of course, those were lower time frame. That was like an hourly chart we were looking at. So, if we're going to be looking at hourly charts and talking setups, you have to understand that a lot of them get busted out very easily. That's sort of a trader's life. I think actually maybe I had it off of, but I think I was doing like Phoenix for you guys, but something along these lines. No, that wasn't it. Where the hell's the damn chart that I was showing you guys? It was over here somewhere. I might have gotten rid of the lines. But anyway, I had a trend line that I was watching, really my general feeling was that if that trend line was lost, then all hell would break loose. I don't think we've lost it yet, so that's I suppose, a good sign. Yeah, I think this was it here. No, that's not it. But I don't like the fact that this M here is forming off of this trend line. It looks a little disturbing. I think actually, fudge. Too many charts. My head's going to explode. Where do we want to begin? Might have been. Hmm. Yeah. Oh well. I don't seem to have it on the top of my head, so don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. But where should we begin today? Why don't we? You know what I'm kind of thinking is why don't we just first off, not seeing any questions. Um, so I'm gonna just basically assume that you level oneers are feeling pretty confident, and you didn't have any questions coming out of that class. So why don't we just maybe what I'll do is I fired these up, and I think this is probably not a bad place for us to start. So this is a 4 hour chart. Um, and I see a bunch of sort of higher time frame bullish setups working away. Bitcoin has this one. You can see one low, two lows, three lows, four lows, five lows, lots of lows setting up to set your stops against. That's long from 39.79 here on Phoenix, looking for 4,600. So, I'd have to say that this sort of higher time frame 4 hour bot setup is just doing its thing. I think I remember, if I'm not mistaken, you had been asking about this Ethereum bot setup. And same sort of thing as Bitcoin, AB, and then CD. And we had one low, two lows, three lows, four lows, all set up off of this 25 level. So technically, it's alive. It's doing its thing, and of course, had you taken that level, then you got to risk against this 129, let's call it 130 area, and just got to live with the result. Looking for 193 bananas on Ethereum there. Litecoin, I think, and I've said this repeatedly, and I think it's not a bad idea just to sort of keep this in the back of your mind. If we look at the trend, and I love this tool, it's just a simple moving average relationship on the weekly charts to sort of give you an idea of trend. And it's interesting how Tron was the first one out of this list to turn back up. And you can see the price is hanging in there, trying to hold the moving averages. And we actually went and just fractaled here in a nice little inside bar. So we'll see how that plays out. But, I had been talking recently that if there was going to be a cryptocurrency that sort of led us out of the bottom, Litecoin heading into its halvening event, back in 2014, 2015, should be leading the charge here, if everything's sort of the same. So, it was quite pleasing to see that our little moving average system said, yep, Litecoin's turned back to the bull side. So worst case scenario here, just over the short term, of course, medium term, this whole damn thing could just roll over and crap out. But over the short term here, I think there is a world of support here on, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. I guess we'll go zoom in here like so. And I just eyeballed this. It's not exact, but it looks to me like there's a pretty important support line right off these candle body close levels, and then that doji high. All the way down to our head. And our head bottom here, 2254, 2284, 2254. Yeah, okay, so there's your low. And I might make the argument, these head and shoulders patterns, the more symmetrical they are, the better. So the fact that we've rallied into this neighborhood, I suppose if the actual neckline is there, I can live with that. I'd ideally like to see it nice and symmetrical, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is if we just do a fib off of whatever this ultimate high is, back down to its low, right? You see that 38.2. I used to work with a guy in New York. Yeah, I think he was in New York. Ray Burchett. and he runs an educational program called Intuitive Development for Traders, which ironically enough, he won't teach you a setup in his entire course. And frankly, he doesn't give a rat's ass what setups he use. His course is just all about just understanding what it takes to actually be a professional trader. And good value. I mean, the guy's super, super smart. And it just goes to show, ironically enough, and this is probably a good message for sort of the YouTube audience, is that you don't realize that most of the battle in trading and actually wanting to make money from trading has nothing to do with price charts. It has nothing to do with these squiggly lines. It has nothing to do with fibs or Brian's squiggly line theory or any of that kind of shit. I mean, that's the irony of trading. It has everything to do with what's between your ears and how you handle yourself and how you behave in the market, which is kind of funny because my son is severely disabled, and he works with behavioral consultants. And because he's nonverbal, he expresses how he feels through behaviors. And the irony of it all is, I always say to the people that work with him, the irony of it all is that your job and my job actually is incredibly similar. And what I spend most of my time with my education as a behavioral consultant, which I find hilarious, because that's really the value that you get out of knowing a guy like me. Is, look at guys, this isn't really anything different. This is very normal with price action. Yeah. When Bitcoin went up to 20 G's, to see it come right back down to whatever, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. While it's incredibly shocking to the public and they're thinking the sky's falling, actually, it's pretty much business as usual. So anyway, the point that I would just make, and I sort of got off topic there, sorry everyone, is that seeing a pullback to this 38.2, which you can see just so happens to be the cluster of moving averages here. These will be support, but 38.2, good old Ray's level, and we affectionately like to call him, because people on the site couldn't say his name fast enough, so we just shortened it to Ray Barbecue. And I like to do that with a lot of funny expressions in terms of the marketplaces. Try and shorten them up, make them funny, colorful images to try and help you remember them. So, if you can't remember 38.2 Fibonacci retracement, oh, that's a mouthful. Try and remember Ray Barbecue. And we usually put like a knife and fork. Mind you, it would be cool if TradingView had like a barbecue icon. I don't know how we would come up with that, but usually we put the knife and fork for the barbecue. Of course, and I hate when this happens. Every time you want to find one of these damn icons really quickly, you can never find it. It's probably in here somewhere, but oh well. Anyway, so not to waste everybody's time, but the long and short of it here is if we did get like sort of a flash dump in crypto, and I'm feeling like Bitcoin's a little bit heavy here, I would fully expect 38.2, $48, probably big fat round number, $50. Is probably going to be short-term support. And like I said, the trend has actually started to turn back up, which is fantastic. And you see that those moving averages are right in there. And that's probably, it's interesting how this Tron sort of almost is like foretelling the future to us here in a certain way, to a certain degree, I suppose, because probably if we do Ray Burchett's off of this kind of thing, let's see. Well, Ray's Barbecue was actually quite a bit lower. Maybe if we just go off of clotheslines. There we go. That makes sense. So, wicks and tails, it's subjective. But long and short of it here is price on Tron had to come right back down and just sort of settle in on the moving averages. And as long as these stay positive and we don't start crapping out here in earnest, the trend, I think, is still up. This guy has a relatively short price history, though. So I don't know how much we can actually really believe that this guy's a good leader, but this community, they're super, super strong. And I suppose if we put on ideas like that, BNB coin, the coin. Yeah, Marat, you're thinking exactly what I was thinking. You know, that crazy BNB. This thing has just been leading the charge here. I have no idea how you even come up with a valuation on this thing. And I've said that before, but there's the weekly price chart. There's the trending signal, and you can see what he's done. Right? You could probably also a couple that have been really popular of late. This ADA, Cardano is really caught in fire here, and oh, it hasn't turned yet though. Oh, interesting. So actually, you know, the interesting thing is once this thing actually gets going, oh my goodness, that could really take off here. But there was one other one. What was it? RVN. Let's see. This thing's been quite a leader recently. So let's see if this thing is trending. All right. So, you know, this is half the problem when you don't have a lot of price history is basically this thing officially announced that it was trending higher on the resolution of this inside bar heading higher here. So anyway, it's encouraging. It's nice to see. It's business as usual. I don't really see anything out of the ordinary here with price action. And the irony of it all, I mean, the true irony of all of this is, let's see if we can get back to where we were. There we were. The true irony of all of this is, can you actually force yourself when these assets are basically being given away? Throwing the baby out with the bathwater, can you build a plan to force yourself to accumulate? Buying when they're crying and selling when they're yelling, you know. So no doubt about it, in the crypto space, there is a heck of a lot of crying going on. But I do see that, you know, on balance, the tone is getting a little bit more optimistic. And, you know, that's a stock market. I don't think we'll talk too much about stock market today, but you know, I'm watching a whole bunch of altcoins. You can see them slowly but surely. This is actually what we call climbing the wall of worry. This Vertcoin is probably a really good example because it's already started to climb. You know, I mean, this was the old highs way back up here, right? There is that nonsense of the late 2017 market. And of course, you can't give this stuff away, and it's starting to climb its way higher. We call this climbing the wall of worry. When, you know, if you ask anybody out in the public, what do you think of this thing? Oh, it's a piece of shit. It's going to zero, man. Yeah, it's going to zero. And ironically enough, usually when that's sort of the broader market sentiment, usually these things actually go up. So go figure. But as you can see on the screen, and these are just a few names. I mean, I got like, I think about 300 or so of these different cryptocurrencies. So I got tons of these damn things. And we've actually had a few actual like setups rocking and rolling here. There was that ADA. That's why I thought that this weekly trend had actually turned back up, because just the most beautiful bot setup there. Just textbook. And look how it ran up and hit the objective. Went a little bit higher, and you know, this will be a question for let's see, new level oneers. Own, I think you're a new level oneer. Crypto, I recognize your icon. I think you're a level oneer. I'm not quite sure. Dennis, are you in the level 1 program? I'm not sure, but anyway. Who do you think is actually buying up here? Do you think it's the institutions that are actually buying up here? Yeah, sadly, it's usually the public, isn't it? And you know, the interesting thing is that the pros, of course, are lightening up here, and fascinating how prices backed off a little bit after hitting that objective. Really, really great example. Just so pretty and so pure. I mean, beautiful bottom. And also, too, this is a really good note for you guys is, you know, see if you can watch for this in the future. You get like these structural bottoms that come in, and you get sort of a breakout, and then notice this cute little consolidation right at the breakout level, right here. Where's my drawing tool? This right here, where we went right up against there, and then we backed off, and then we went blasting through there. That's a huge, huge signal right there. Very powerful. And I suppose if we drill down to like, say, like an hourly chart, you'll probably see there's quite a battle there. Yeah, so there's that 25 level of the bot. There's the run up against the highs. And in a weird sort of way, you can actually, I don't know whether you guys can see this or not, but really good little lesson. There's the old highs. That's what we would call our cup. You might even go just off of there, something in that neighborhood. And then this is our handle, like so. So you get that consolidation, test of the highs, the backup, and then beautiful W's coming in, and the blast off. And you could make the argument this is actually a really good example of Wyckoff, where, in essence, Mr. Wyckoff says that this is the markup process. This is the check of the breakout, right? And then the markup process, and then the check of the breakout, and the markup process, et cetera, et cetera. So big run up, pros lighten up, they back the price up, they reload, they run it up, they lighten up, then they back it up, they reload, then they run it up, then they unload, then they back it up, reload. Look at these, and also too, what a good example, right? The big run up, take profits, then consolidate. Look at this beautiful bottom right in there, right? I mean, it's done this a few times. All you gotta do is just wait for the consolidation and then just wait for the W's. Look, and there's another one right here. Beautiful. So I often suggest that once you have like a big run up like this, you got to wait for the market to sort of settle down. And this is here, really. And I mean, look at this one. Oh, beautiful. That's the definition of price settling down. And that's really what you want to watch for, especially if you like, good example we could throw on something like Bollinger Bands. And really all Bollinger Bands are is just a volatility study. I don't know how the hell you spell that. Isn't it just B Bands? Maybe it's in the public library. No, built-ins. I don't know how to use this silly trading view. Anyway, all I want is just, there we go, just Bollinger Band. Yeah, so not a bad example. So when the bands are really wide like this, and I know it's going to get a little confusing here, so maybe I'll get rid of all the drawing tools. Remove all drawing tools. There we go. When the bands are really wide like this, you should try and maybe just let things settle down. And then notice they sort of consolidate, right, and go sideways. Call that a squeeze. Look at this one. Ooh, nice squeeze here. Really came in tight right off of that W I was pointing out. And look at this one. Oh, my goodness. So beautiful. Bollinger Band squeezing nice and tight. So, try and avoid when taking a trade when the Bollinger Bands are really wide like that, or like that, or like that. And just concentrate when the bands are, this one isn't really that good of an example, but this great here, right? When the bands squeeze in tight. And this is just absolute textbook, right? Where the bands squeeze in nice and tight and you get that nice resolution. And then, of course, in this market, leave it alone. Really, really good example. I suppose I should get around to finishing that damn volatility module for the course, eh? I just never get on. There's never enough hours in the day. So, just using this Cardano as a working example here for you guys. Tons and tons of information that you can glean from this. And it sure is nice to see crypto back in a bull market. Come on, you. Geez, how many changes did I make of this darn chart? Go back. There we are. All right, so not a shock. And look at that. You can even see prices coming off here because people are like, oh, crap. Well, that was a target. Oh, I better get the hell out of here. And what do you think? If we put the Bollinger Bands on here, guys, what do you think? What do you think the odds are that the band's squeezed in tight here? And now they're like insane wide here. What do you think the odds are? I think the odds are pretty good. Shane, I wasn't expecting to see you today. I thought you guys would all be still drunk. I hope you guys had fun last night. Anyway, there was somebody. You were smart. Oh, okay. There's somebody that just joined the lounge. It was a party last night that I wasn't able to attend, and I was thinking about them last night. So, oh, you left early. Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, not the best example of a squeeze here, but you can definitely see. Look how wide the bands are now. Hands off. If anything, all the smart people out there should have been taking profits up top. So, it's a really good example. I think I tweeted this out through the week, so we don't need to talk about that when I get to that tweet. We've already talked it up. So, I got to tell you, one market that I'm a little surprised at. This thing, I have no idea how on earth you actually can come up with fundamental valuations for this thing. But we're definitely getting into, parking garage neighborhood here. So nobody, in my opinion, has any business stepping in on the buy side here. And I'm a little worried now we're probably going to start getting like divergences develop here. Let's see. Oh boy. Yeah, look at that. We moved to new highs here, but the MACD is actually still reporting negative. And you can see the momentum oscillators, price momentum oscillators here. If I just show RSI now in huge divergence here. So be careful. Off of the 1.618, the golden ratio tag, and then these two trendline confluence. I was under the impression that this thing needed to pull back here. They did pull it back, and it was interesting. I even put tweets out to this effect saying, be careful. This looks like it has trouble written all over it. And it was weird. Almost the moment that I tweeted that out, everything just sort of stopped on this thing. And, very simply put, if there aren't any motivated sellers, well, then this thing's just going to do what they do. But, I have to just reiterate, nobody at TRI has any business buying this thing. We had some great long entries down, off of this level here. And nothing really set up for me too well here. I was a little disappointed to see the failure here. But the question you have to ask yourself is, what is this thing actually used for? And if I understand correctly, it's entirely predicated on sort of the popularity of Binance and that exchange. So, you can play it if you want. I certainly don't have any buy signals here, but the question I would have is, how do you value one of these things? And I think it's if anything, it's an absolutely excellent sentiment indicator. You can pay for fees on Binance with it, great, Murat, but does that mean that this thing actually has any value? I still haven't figured out and I haven't had anybody explain to me what is the value of one BNB. So anyway, long and short of it here is it is making higher highs. And if you're long, rock on, enjoy it. But me, Brian, I can't touch this with a 10-foot pole. It might just face rip. Market will do what the market's going to do. Yeah, I do love. Well, see, that's the thing, right? Is somebody on YouTube says I just set up an MUE master note, and so can you buy your tick? Good question, Joshua. But I did see Cryptopia came back, so that means my Titcoins are still alive. Woohoo! Titcoin for the win. Hey, and I got free tits. What the hell do I care? Free tits are free tits. I'm not going to buy it anymore, that's for sure. But hey, free is free. Hey, Riz is there too. Jesus, all you guys made it today. I thought you'd all be face down in a ditch this morning. And is that Andrew? Is that Mr. House Party himself over there? So nice to see that you're back amongst the living, Reza. Hope you guys had fun last night. Okay, so very disjointed session here this morning. Sorry, guys, I'm just sort of having fun. Um, uh, I think you think he's done. Uh-oh, that scares me. Done? Oh boy. I don't think that's Andrew Chung over there though, is it? All I see is Andrew. I think that's a different Andrew. But anyway, I hope he's okay. Mind you, it was his party though, so I would imagine he's going to be there quite a bit. So, okay, so what can we say? Once upon a time in a cryptocurrency far, far away. You know, I'm just going to reiterate this because this is basically how I feel. Sorry, Andrew, didn't mean to mix you up with Mr. House Party. You know, I remember going through all this very succinctly. I remember when, who was it? What's his name again? I always forget his name. Anyway, Mr. Rage quit, dumped Mike Hearn, I think his name was. We haven't gotten the big rage quit panic dump on Bitcoin this go round. So, you know, is that a function of CME has enough interest and the big boys are wanting to establish a floor that maybe we won't get that panic dump? I don't know. Only time will tell. But I definitely think, you know, Chop Vegas, you can definitely see trading range established. And this is what you sort of need after you go through one of these long, prolonged bear slides to sort of, you know, at least remove the emotion out of the market. You know, a lot of people that buy through here, they're like, okay, this thing go up, go up, go up, go up. By the time we get to here, they've kind of lost interest. So, and I would actually argue that this is sort of what is needed to sort of remove this conversation from Bitcoiners' vocabulary. And of course, what I find fascinating, of course, and remember, you know, there's maybe there's 7 billion of us running around here on the planet. I do find it fascinating that it seems every single year we have a whole new crop of people come into this space that have never heard of Bitcoin before, that have no idea what and let's just do a poll. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 people here in the Hangout. Maybe you guys on YouTube, just let me know. Who here knows what a Mobi is? Anybody know what a Mobi is? Really interesting. Nope. Nope. Anybody on YouTube? Do any of you know what a Mobi is? Nope. I don't. Nope. Cool house. Yeah. Nope. Okay, Lewis Coop. Finally, someone actually knows what a Mobi is. Oh, Elijah says he knows what a Mobi is. So the interesting thing is that Mobis were actually all the rage in crypto all through this period here. So it just goes to show how, you know, how, number one, how quickly people forget. And then number two, how we continually are recycling and then brand new people into the space that have no idea about the past history of crypto. Let's see if I can show you a Mobi. Mobi Arch coin. So technically, we're all supposed to be living in these things. So if you don't know what a Mobi is, maybe you ought to do yourself a favor and what? I don't know. Just try to get someone interested. No one seems to want to know. Yeah, well, that's a good, you know, and the weird thing is people don't want to be reminded of the past. And this thing, of course, was just a horrific scandal. And actually, all you Da Vinci fans, when I asked when I asked Dav what his worst story in crypto was, he said Archcoin and all around these silly Mobies that we're all supposed to be living in. So anyway, that's what a Mobi is. All right, kind of a fun conversation, but the point here is that I think right now we're kind of going through this phase of the market, and I got to tell you guys, I mean, hear me now, believe me later, I don't care. But I see that crypto goes through. This is now the 8th year, and crypto seems to go through this incredibly remarkable cycle. So I'm not really looking for too much out of probably the rest of 2000 and what year is it? 2019 for Bitcoin. If anything, I would prefer that we do this kind of action back and forth, what I call chop Vegas. And unfortunately, that doesn't make me very popular on internets and stuff like that and YouTubes and all that. Because I'm just simply saying, I'm just not expecting much, So hurry up and do nothing. We're getting lots of sort of internal messages that maybe the bear is a little bit long in the tooth, and there's internals that are suggesting that, hey, maybe price is a little bit stronger than what price itself would lead you to believe. But these divergences can go on for a while. And I think we all have to remember that, right? In fact, sometimes I like to paint like double divergences. And then every once in a while you get like a triple divergence. Oh, wow, man. So the bottom line here is this isn't necessarily a buy signal unto itself, but it is anecdotal evidence that, hey, price, yes, we're sort of swimming around in a range right here. But price is actually a lot stronger than what you'd actually are led to believe. And really, I might make the argument that the bear can't really re-exert itself and drive this lower until this thing actually starts to roll over. Usually, the rule is that these MACD pushes move in like 4s, 8s, 12s, and 16s. So we went positive here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. We've been going positive here on the MACD. Frankly speaking, I would have liked to have seen a bit more upside pressure, but nonetheless. So in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be looking for some sort of, rollover here. And we'll have to spend some time. This is all ebb and flow, ebb, flow, ebb, flow, ebb, flow. It's not going to go in a straight line forever. So at some point we will have to roll over. And the worst part about it, historically, is that Bitcoin loves to dump right into my birthday. And I've sort of said that to you guys before. We look at our last cycle, you see that, and I don't know, maybe it's a gift, I don't know. But you can see it topped out the middle of March and worked its way right down, in this case, into the end of April. My birthday is right in this area here. So don't be surprised, guys, if we have to go through a few weeks here of sort of cleaning things up. Got to sneeze. Hold on a sec. Oops. I hit the invite button instead of the mute button. Sorry about that. Somebody should write a user's manual on this silly YouTube. So, you can see here, coming out of the lows, in this case, back in 2015 through January, we enjoyed a pretty nice uppy market into the middle of March, and then we rolled over. And it is interesting to see that, there's a lot. Well, thank you, everybody, for saying bless you. Well, look at all those bless yous. Oh, you're so sweet. It is important to note that I have heard a number of people online say it, and I'd have to agree with them. I think there is a high correlation between stocks, risk assets, risk equity assets are risk assets, and crypto. And I would argue crypto is, basically a commodity. There are some cryptos that are trying to uncommoditize themselves, unsecuritize themselves, call them more of a utility. But in essence, I would, bunch the whole group into that risk asset category. And we all saw that the risk, the stock market itself got punched in the nose on Friday. So, if the stocks have to go through a couple months of backfilling, cleaning up, political scandals down in the States, all that kind of stuff, political scandals in Canada too, for that matter. If risk assets have to go on pause here for a bit, could Bitcoin go on pause here for a bit? Crypto, sure. Would not shock me whatsoever. So just be cognizant of that. Here's sort of our current market state. I think we can very comfortably say, top of the range, boom. Let's put our magnet on here. Bottom of the range, boom. Fully expect price to explore both extremes. Don't be surprised whatsoever. And we'll know that this is a new bull when we can go up through the top of this range and then come back and check that top and then put in like a nice bottom and away we go. That's the kind of, and I don't know if it happens in this time horizon. I don't think so. But this is the kind of price action we need to see for me to feel like, all right, we are now officially back. And yeah, just like Wally's World. You can't be serious. Good remembering. That's a perfect analogy. Yeah. I always remember that scene always where he just winds up and punches him in the nose. That always is that's exactly what comes to mind when I think of that. Good remembering. But anyway, and so, just to see historically what that looks like back in 2015, right? We ran up through the top, came back down, and checked the old top of the range right here. And that was sort of our mark that, all right, we have officially put the bottom in. So it's still going to be a ways away. And I got a sneaky suspicion that we're sort of like, if we were going to say, probably the best thing to go is something. Well, actually, I think that's what I did here, right? Yep, there we go. So I think we can actually move this forward and say you are here now. Like so. So we still got quite a bit of work to do. And I think I'm just going to leave Bitcoin at that because I think that's about the biggest message you can possibly tell people. On the very short-term basis, like we were sort of talking about there a few minutes ago, we do still have some medium-term. I would consider this like swing trader timeframes. The 4-hour bullish setups are still sort of working away here. Really don't have anything on Ripple, and I don't know whether I even want to keep this on the screen or not, but I know there's a lot of Ripple fans out there in crypto. So I thought I'd just sort of keep it out of the corner of my eye. You can clearly see that Ripple went and double topped up here and crapped out, and basically that's a brick wall of resistance right now. You'll know Ripple's back in vogue when we're up through these highs. But again, it's kind of like BNB. I mean, how on earth do you come up with a value for one Ripple? I mean, I don't know how you do it. It's purely a sentiment play. All right. So, and actually, this also is good anecdotal evidence. Litecoin is supposed to be our leader here. We never did hear from Charlie. I don't know whether Charlie actually is back on the long side or not. Maybe we might find that this thing ultimately craps out here and M's out because Charlie said, nah, I'm not really buying back in. I'm going to stand on the sidelines, whatever. And then as I sort of pointed out off of that trend chart, I wouldn't be surprised if Litecoin does have to do a 38.2 retracement here. So we figured off of this Phoenix chart, that's down around 48, $49 back into the moving averages on the weeklies. So if the lower time frames, those 4 hours, start rolling over and start, painting M's, that will probably create some sort of fractal top off of the weekly charts. And then we have to come back down into that 48 area. So, I don't know if that's the exact same level off of, I think this is Phoenix. So, where is 48 on these 4 hour charts? If we do a fib off of our highest high here, all the way back down to the lows, right? There's that 48.28.6, right? So that's going to be right back into this original double bottom. And, if this thing really does crap out and loses those moving averages, and this is nothing more than a trading range, and the sort of trending market signal stops, then I could imagine buyers are probably going to come back in off of these lows down here, which makes sense. Reload zone 78.6. Probably you can see on Send Script, there's tons of gaps all throughout here. So there's probably some juicy gaps to be filled in, but that's predicated on the fact that this does crap out and it does fail. Those people that had taken this bot setup, in this particular case, you can see move stop to scratch levels hit. We came back and flirted with that level. No, I flirted with that level. No. And then it actually went and W'd here. So the bot's still alive here. I tell you, it's gasping for breath. What's kind of cool is we might even see, and I don't know whether it did 166 or not. Let's see. You could even argue 33, 66. So one low, two lows. Well, we might even get like a smaller setup. But this is now going back to sort of that conversation that we had on the CoinAG show with bots off of lower time frames. Whoops, that's not the right one. That one? There we go. And these are susceptible to being stopped out, no problem. Anyway. So, the Bitcoin bot that we did off of the lower time frames, it did get stopped out. This one's just working away. There is the 25 level. I got one low. I got two lows. Probably if this inside bar fires here, and actually that's kind of cool. As you can see, one low, two lows. There is this nice hard low. I like that. But I think this is probably going to be number 3 here. And you can see how this inside bar here is basically set up right off of that bot level. So I think if you're a Litecoin aficionado, you probably actually get a nice little trade that fires right through there. Actually, we had our Leanne James. She officially wrote her level 3 exam and passed. So way to go, Leanne. You are now a TRI OGer, whether you like it or not. Anyway, ideally you like to have 3 tests of a trend line. I don't know whether we could call that a test of that trend line or not. That's really subjective. But long and short of it here is Leanne James, or we used to call it Ron Jeremy in years have gone by. Basically, the rule of trading trend lines is you want to see the trend line broken, and then you want to see structure on the other side of the trend line. So, if we change this to like a line chart, hopefully everybody can potentially see the W that's trying to form now on the other side of this trend line. Well, very encouraging. If we just go off of clotheslines, like something like that. Interesting how that's very similar level. So break the trend line. Don't go and trade the break of the trend line, because that's sometimes a real trap. And you can see, no, not ready. Let's get some nice structure on the other side of the trend line. And interesting how that's trying to set up right off the bot level. So really cool, actually working example there. I like that. We'll put there. So clearly there was some big sort of confluence event right here. This is support. If we lose these lows, then you just got to cool your jets. You got to wait for new structure to come in. But there is potentially something there happening, and it is Sunday. right? If we get through the weekend and the higher ups are like, okay, game on, let's get back to the bull side, and they wake up and they're all rah bullish, and this thing punches through. I would even say, what is that high? Let's, in fact, you know what? For the daily brief show tomorrow, let's review this and see what happened. What is that? That's 6090. So I'll say 6091. 6091. All right, so let's keep an eye on that level right there. See what happens. So, Litecoin, as the leader, is still leading. That's encouraging. And, you know, some of the other names that have been leading are still leading. Right? I tweeted out about this Raven coin. I think the tweet that I put out was on the break. Actually, this is another example of cup and handle. So you can see the big cup and then the cute little handle and a breakout through the top. Away we go. So, you know, in this particular case, I think I tweeted out somewhere in here, I was like, you know, that ADA already took off and hit its upside objective. And so I was like, gee whiz, can this thing be far behind? And you just got to wait for it, wait for it. In this particular case, boom, I just blasted through that level. I would make the same argument, though, here. Be careful, people, right? This is where the pros are hopping off. Who do you think is likely buying up here? And of course, if this thing M's out here and craps out, you know, all those people that were late buyers, they're going to be awfully upset. So nobody at TRI has any business being a buyer up here. You do so on YouTube. Caveat emptor, all that kind of fun stuff. Now that this move is done, ironically enough, if we're actually thinking about downside objectives, good old Ray and his barbecue should probably be able to help us here. Interesting. So you can see how Ray is sitting there at the old highs. Let's do 500. There we go. And if we do nothing more than just a classic Wyckoff check, right? Up, down, check the original breakout. There's so many buyers just sitting here wanting to buy. The market just can't get through there, and we start heading higher, then right on. But if anything, this is a really, really good example that we got to wait for good old Ray and his barbecue to resolve first before we make any new decisions about what we should expect to see happening here. So that's sort of the situation on that Raven coin. And like I said, tweeting out the other day, it's good to see leaders leading. This guy was the one who was ratcheting up. So if anything, great to see that he continued. I can't be a buyer here. If anything, I should have been taking profits up in here, and just, you know, sitting back and counting your profits. Suppose you could make well, yeah, that is that one. The cup and handle formation, interestingly enough, actually suggests that we're probably going to want to replicate this range to the upside. So we could start doing extension targets. Boom. Oh, gee whiz. This is just like that BNB, right? Right up into the 1.618, good old golden ratio. And of course, this is our classic parking garage. So again, you know, for heaven's sakes, we don't really have any business being buyers up here. Looking for some exhaustion up in this area, I think makes a lot of sense. Right? If we did the extension off of that original range, same sort of thing. Try not to be buyers in these teal boxes. Yes, the market can go beyond it, but oh boy, look at what happens on the other side once this thing settles down. So, you know, I don't know exactly where the top is, and when the M comes in, that's when you'll know that it's in. But, you know, is it a good idea to be a buyer up here? I don't think so. Anyway. So interesting to see that some of our leaders have actually already hit their upside objectives. If anything, what we really want to see right now is we want to see new leadership. Who's going to take over? And look at our buddy. Where's Riza? You got to tell Andrew. I sure hope you got your open order working. Maybe library credits is going to be our new leader. Who knows? I mean, you just don't know. But I do like to see the fact that it's perking up here. And just an absolute textbook. Absolute textbook. Where's Colleen? Colleen, can you see what when I say textbook? Can you see why I call this a textbook bottom here? Can you see the W's? Big pop. Can you see the reload zones? Can you see the market comes right back to good old 78.6 line in the sand? And then we start putting in more W's. What's really cool about this one is you could have like said, okay, I'm going to wait for the reload zone. Then I'm going to wait for a W in the reload zone, and I'm going to let that thing come in to tell me that, yep, this is a bull. And then I'm going to draw another reload zone. Just going to reload zone the crap out of this. And sure enough, look at that. That would have just been just a brilliant fill level right in there. You do that kind of stuff, and they start talking about naming chart patterns off of you. I mean, look at that. It's beautiful. So anyway, caveat emptor. Good looking trade there on library credits. So, as I said just a moment ago, what we really want to see is we want to see some leadership. We did get some great leadership there. I noticed this little guy. I really want, and somebody had just mentioned in the before I move on, somebody had just mentioned there was about a half a dozen names. These guys here. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this was one of the names. There was a gentleman recently who was on Twitter saying, there's a bunch of names that I would like to buy. And that MUE is, I think, one of them. I think it's this one, eh? I love this. Beautiful. And so somebody on YouTube mentioned this MUE just a few minutes ago. Who was that? Who was it? Somebody mentioned that MUE. There he is. Who's that? Aftermath 842. I like this. This is basically stepping in against the bottom end of the range. Very hard to do. Nobody's going to say that's easy. Again, this is sort of like, buying when they're crying, right? I'm not going to say this is easy, but the point here is, especially you YouTubers, all the people that are in the lounge right now, they've gone through the education program. I mean, most of you. So you understand, people at TRI understand there's no friggin' way I'm allowed to even touch this thing when it's up here, right? I'm just not allowed to do that. You can nanny nibble your way along here. That's fine. Buying when they're crying kind of stuff. But when they actually start Wing out like this, oh my goodness, now is actually when we really need to pay attention. Look at the size of that W. It's huge. Look at the size of that thing. Who's gonna fill in the blank on that one? Everybody should know exactly what the next line there should be. Look at the size of that; it's so big. All right. Anyway, just being stupid. So, accumulating on a name like this, love it. The irony of it all, and somebody even the other day on Twitter was like, "Uh-oh, Beamish is buying something, and I better look out." And I said, the irony of all of that is that thank you, Owen. Owen finished the sentence. Thank you, sir. Just because I buy something, actually, ironically enough, if I buy something and then I publicly announce it on Twitter, usually the price goes down. So if anything, you want me to say that I'm buying, and then that way you can get it cheaper. But anyway, I love these kind of stories. I mean, the darn thing's sitting at like 300 sats, and just this wick alone takes you up to more than a double off of a buy at 350 sats. So that's all these guys here, they all banged out doubles here. So, if anything, you should look at this and go, oh, I know exactly what happened here. I know exactly why this thing stalled here. Basically, they just ran into all the sell orders of the guys that were buying down here. I suppose, too, we could like change this to a line chart. Oh, hello, W's, right? All down in sort of this area down in here. So not a big surprise. And you guys just have to understand this isn't really something that Brian's made up. This is stuff that goes back like eons, right? Sell half on a double, get a risk-free trade, blah, 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 blah. I've got another bid to buy some more off of this gap right here, but I've noticed a couple names, and seasonally, I think it makes sense. This guy here, I tried to be a cheap ass, right? Again, trying to bid off of 78.6s, and look at the W he's trying to form in here. So a lot of these names are looking really juicy down here. It's almost like they've run out of sellers. They just can't find any more sellers. So good to see. But a lot of those names that gentleman mentioned, I really like. Here's a great example of one that we talked about recently. Oh, I can't believe I missed this fill. I mean, so close. Just ridiculous. But, oh well, can't win them all. Hopefully you see that beautiful W come in. Really, considering where the reload zone is off of this entire range, probably should have just gone in and just picked some up off of that W. But, oh well, hindsight's 2020. And here it is chugging higher. I remember I mentioned this recently in that Broiler Coinergy show that really I can't be a buyer here. It's just against the rules. So what you can see is I've drawn the fib on here, and I watch this stuff daily. And I have to wait for this thing to come back down into this area before I can buy. Does that mean that this thing can't continue its way higher? No. Market will do any old damn thing it wants, but really, really great level there. That's if there was a trade to be done, that's where I would have been interested. Anyway. All right. Let's maybe just quickly go through. I didn't really see I must leave to grab my car. I will watch the rest of the show on YouTube later today. Thanks, Brian. All right, take it easy, Reza. Hey, Sjord! How you doing, Sjord? Actually, I was playing around. Sjord's got some cool stuff going on. We're still sort of building it all out. But now on TRI, and this is sort of Sjord's baby, we have dashboards that you can actually build and have them actually report information that you want to use on a regular basis. And I thought I saved this setup yesterday, but it looks like stuff has changed. So I think it's still kind of in development, but lots of fun on the site playing with the new tools. Cool tools, cool tools. Oh, maybe I'll put that over there. And we'll put you up here. Let's see, will that work? Hey, there we go. So lots of fun stuff. I was playing with this yesterday, having fun with the dashboard, sort of setting it up with information that I like. So we'll see if that saves. But this is kind of cool, so I can see. I don't know. It doesn't look like these numbers are reporting correctly, though. So looks like still under development. But really fun to see all the fun tools Sjord and company are building for us at TRI. Can't wait for this to be finished and nice polished product for you guys. Anyway, just happened to see Sjord. Yeah, I know. And how long? I guess I've been going on for quite a while here, right? Oh, actually, you know what? This is a really good example. I am glad actually I popped over here. Colleen, remember you were looking at this idea before. Do you remember this? You had mentioned this probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We had a nice little Davo, beautiful little W, right? Nice little trade there. Spat up at 2-to-1, right? Nice trade. And then, let's say you missed that trade. Watch what happens if I draw a fib. Baby dib, right? Back here. Gee whiz, look at that reload zone. Do you see how these reload zones work? Not cool. I mean, It's almost shocking how often this stuff works. And this is what I need to get you to the point, right? Is can you acknowledge the double bottom, acknowledge the rally, acknowledge the pullback? And here's a great example. And actually, if anything, this is a good sign because maybe it means that this market's maturing. But in essence, good old mountain man came in here and just stopped the bear in its tracks. You see that? So this is why it's not a bad sign to actually, if you're like, oh man, I totally love this thing, I want to work some bids, maybe work like 3 bids, right? Work one at the mountain man level, one at the original breakout level, one at like 78.6. And of course, Ian, it's funny how I see Ian pop on the site every once in a while, and then he disappears, and then he pops back in. He's so fun to watch him zip in and out. But he absolutely loves 88.6, right? Watch what happens when we put 88.6. That happens to line up nicely off of these bodies. So you want to sprinkle in some bids here to try and get fills? Well, not a bad idea. In this case, you would have gotten filled off a mountain man. And there she goes. So, what we really want to see is we want to see some leadership. Somebody lead. And actually, this is just a fucking kick-ass trade now. And actually, I got to go buy some more, don't I? That's what I said on the site I was going to do. So actually, I'm going to place an order even while I'm talking here. Where's the clothesline level? 274. Pardon me. Somebody play some elevator music. Do.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow,
and the theme of Jeopardy? That's cute. I thought you were going to do the Meow Mix song. Do you remember that? I don't know. You might be too young for that. There used to be a Meow Mix song. It goes meow 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 meow. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. But anyway, okay. Now, what price did I say I wanted to pay for this thing? 274. And the interesting thing about trading is you don't know if you're going to get filled or not. But these are my levels. So levels are levels. Let's go. All right. Boom. In goes my order. Just like that. Hey, I'm filled? All right, well, that was cool. No. So hopefully everybody can see here. And actually, there's a guy, I think I talked about this. You know that the commercial, eh? Yeah, that's us old timers, eh, Diana? And is it Diana or Deanna? You got to correct me because I keep making that mistake. I saw you in class the other day, and I think I butchered your name. Is it I or E? E? Deanna? Okay, Deanna it is. But there's a guy on YouTube that on Twitter that I really like. I think he's so smart. And I think his name is Joshua. And he loves to follow the Ichi Boom Boom. I'm not really the biggest fan of Ichi Boom Boom, but it was fun. I think a year or two ago, we had him come on the site to explain Ichi Boom Boom to the community. And he also talks a lot about this kind of bottom pattern. And this is actually, it's a pretty typical bottoming pattern. I see it now that I've watched it. There he is. Carpe Noctem. Is that his name? I know he took a lot of heat. Yeah, this guy. I mean, he's a super nice guy. Super, super nice guy. And I took a lot of heat because of Ichi Boom Boom stuff. But, I mean, that's the irony of a trader's life is you're never going to be right 100% of the time. Just get used to it, guys. And if anything, you have to build your plan to expect that you are going to be wrong because it happens. Yeah, I think he's got the best intentions. That's the most important thing, right? I don't know. I mean, I still got a whole bunch of my bids working. So Alex asked you, how long do you leave your bids working? I think I showed you there was a gentleman that came out a week or two ago and said there's a whole bunch of names that I like in the crypto space. And I still have my bids working. That one's still working. That one was filled. I'd really like to see this HXRO. I was really hoping that this one would lead because I really like their website. It's kind of sick. I've still got this bid working, still got that bid working. This guy, I mean, totally left me in the dust, but I still have my bid working off of the bottom. And this Zakilla, right? I put my bid in here like back here, and I'm still just patiently waiting. So, I don't know. I mean, especially if there's gaps there. And remember, these are nanny nibbles, right? So, if the thing takes off and I look back and go, oh, geez, I guess I missed the trade, I'll kill it. But I don't mind. And if anything, this is crypto, right? You could easily get like flash dumps here. This is, I've seen it happen so many times. And if I'm buying, and bidding right off the bottom end of the range like these things, then if anything, I'm rooting for those, like we like to call them FU moves, like in crypto, right? So, I guess the bottom line here is Alex asked, how long would you work these bids? If they're nice, juicy levels, I'll just let them work indefinitely until I need the coin for something else. I hope that helps. Now, if I was like trading trade setups and it was like a Davo or it was like an old Tangonator and then the setup moved to the 2-to-1 profit objective, or like let's say I was trying to get in on a bot and the bot levels like that ADA or whatever. I have no business working like this one here, right? Where the hell did it go? Oh, that's not it. Somewhere around all this mess. Thought I had it on here. There, this one. No, that's not it. That's 8. Go library credits! Come on, give me a double. Damn you bastard. Well, I've lost it. It's around here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Cardano. Now, let's say I was working a bid, hoping for some sort of pullback here before the 50% level was hit to try and get in on this thing. Once this, I mean, with the bot, and I think you know this, Alex, but once the 50% level is hit, you can't buy it anymore. The formation's done, because if it comes back to the entry level, you actually have to walk away if you did buy it. So something like this, I don't have the discretion to mess around, right? But my little stinky bids against the bottom end ranges, lines in the sand, gappy Kavarks kind of idea, I can work those bids indefinitely. So I hope that helps answer the question. But this MUE, look at that. Man, I got a funny feeling that guy's going to run here. Good looking little coin. There's a lot of, what I really want to see though is I want to see the leadership continue. Somebody take over here. Maybe it's going to be more of this BNB. The only problem with this is this thing stinks like yesterday's garbage. I don't like the fundamental story behind this. But, having said that, the market says, like, I could give a fuck what you think, Brian. But it's just me, right? It's just me. I gotta be me, right? All that. Okay, sort of blabbing here a bit, and a couple people did remind me, so I better mention it, do it now. Let's just do up a whole new chart. IOTA, right? That's what I'm supposed to be looking at. You have one setup working on one exchange and a different one working on another exchange. Yeah, well, I remember, I tried to do that with that. What was the coin that I did recently? Where I think it was ADA, wasn't it? I did up all the analysis on Trex, and then I had a bunch of Bitcoin sitting on Binance, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just go and buy it on Binance and put the order in there. And oh man, that's a disaster. And I always tell people in the class, don't intermix your markets, because the Trex market did come back to my level, and I would have gotten my fill on Trex, but it never came back on Binance, and they just left me in the dust. Typical bastards. Maybe that's why I don't like the BNB, because they're awfully suspicious trading over there. But anyway, IOTA. Okay, so first let's look at this thing from a US dollar perspective, and I like to do this just to get an idea if there's some sort of floor working. So do we get anything to work with here? All right, now, this is perfect. Buying when they're crying, selling when they're yelling. Right? This is probably almost impossible for somebody in the public to actually come in here and comfortably buy this thing. And yet, when I look at this, I go, holy Jesus. If we start just very simply, keep in mind this is a higher time frame weekly price chart. I don't know whether this is the ultimate low on this asset. It might have been lower on a different exchange, right? So, but I see that it's only traded on Binance and Huobi. It doesn't look like it's listed on Trex. They do have it on Phoenix, though. I seem to remember these guys have been around here quite a while. Why don't we take a look at it in Turkish liras? That sounds kind of fun. Wow, there's some funny denominations here. I wonder what Bitfinex is up to these days. Trading it versus, what's this one? Italian lira, the Indian rupee, the Thai baht. Hey, we should get Julian to look at this, right? Am I looking at the right one or am I looking at the wrong one, Shane? IOT? Was it IOT or IOTA? Oh, let's go back and look at that. And I'm just having fun today. I hope you guys are enjoying this, but I'm just having fun. Anyway, so, this is, if anything, this is the kind of name where when I look at this, I go, that line. So there's no wrong way to read this line. How about you people on YouTube? Maybe somebody on YouTube who's not a site member or has not listened to my rants and stuff. What does this line actually say to you? There's no wrong way to read it. Right? It's all just a question of perspective. I like to teach. Thank you, Colleen. I like to teach in my school program that we should ideally have 3 reasons to take a trade. And reason number 1 has to be location, location, location. So the question here is, I don't know whether you've ever heard before or not, but what are the 3 words in real estate? And they are location, location, location. So ultimately, when I look at an asset like this, I have to ask myself, do we have respectable trade location? If I'm actually going to, all I see is snow here. Is it still snowing in Netherlands? Oh, that would be brutal. Anyway, and really the irony of it all is that, I teach also this concept called the reload zone. So really I could actually make an argument that anywhere sort of down in here, nannies have all the permission they want to nibble away. Often we see markets have to come all the way right back down to the original bottom. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. We talk about candle body levels as great trade locations. So there's that candle body level, and then there's that candle body level. So pretty sexy stuff in there. So anyway you paint this, we're in pretty damn good trade location. So the next thing we want to see is we want to see some sort of indicator confirmation. And, kind of like what we showed you out of the Bitcoin recently. I would argue Bitcoin's definitely in trade location. We've come off the highs, right? Actually, I think this is a log chart, isn't it? So, right, definitely come off the highs. Can we start nanny nibbling? Yep, location, okay. Here's a really good example of indicator confirmation that, we got prices actually a lot stronger than what price would lead you to believe. So in this one, we can do the same logic. Let's throw on a MACD and let's see what she says. And Big Daddy Mac will make you jump. So we go Boom. Boom. It's not great. It's nothing to get too excited about, but hopefully everybody can see the MACD histogram is actually making higher highs and higher lows, even though price itself has made lower lows here. So we actually do have a MACD divergence working here. So I think we can go boobity boop and boobity boop. This is starting to look appealing, you know. Now the final ingredient for us to justify risking our hard-earned money in the market for a trade is we'd like to have some sort of market structure. So, you know, take a actually, let's go like this. And we'll go like that. And we'll go. And we'll take that maybe down to there. And we'll go like that. And we'll go like that. You know, take a screenshot of that. I mean, gee whiz, that's easily you could easily spend $1,000 for like some sort of weekend seminar just learning this, right? I mean, take a screenshot of this. And you guys on YouTube, you're getting this for free. So what does market structure look like? We want to wait for the divergence to confirm, which comes in here. So in essence, at this point now, we can start hunting for structural patterns to help us frame our trade. The easiest ones that most new people to trading, we want you to learn things like W's. W's are awesome trade location. For longs, right? For buying, where you're going to buy that level there and you're going to risk down to there. This is your risk window. Love it. The only problem is, you know, the divergence comes in here. So that's here. So really, it's at this point that we can actually start hunting for W's. Any W here? Nope, 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 nope. Okay, maybe we're starting to form a W. And more importantly, hopefully everybody can see that we might be forming this really big W. Right? So in essence, if we can get price to get up through here, that's going to give you a buy signal way up there. Now keep in mind, this is a weekly chart. So, you know, if you want to sort of be, you know, trend and all that kind of conversation, not a bad idea. We throw on our, and I'll just do the whole thing. It'll take too long to find it. Ooh, hello. And some really sexy stuff in here. More sort of internals. Look at this. My overbought, oversold indicator is very oversold and actually just coming out of the oversold. You love when you see that. Oh, my goodness. And our volume momentum indicator, and I think I've told you guys this on YouTube before, but I know that all the site people know this verbatim. When you actually see a situation where the volume indicator is actually painting divergence, that's pretty important. So hopefully you guys are starting to see a really interesting picture develop here. Now, I use a slightly modified MACD study. You can see it's a little bit crisper. It's 9 and 30, not the 12 and 26. And interestingly enough, you can actually see the divergence started to develop on my modified MACD actually way back here. So this actually would be an example of what I call a double divergence. So you got this divergence, and now you got this divergence coming in. So I got to say, you know, I feel like I might want to go do some shopping here. We got, you know, Willie, nice and stupidly oversold. We got a double divergence. We got a W coming in on on OBV, and that's also a divergence. So as we sort of said, I mean, long and short of it here is, based on our indicators, do we have, where the hell did it go? Did I get rid of it? Oh, there we are. Do we have indicator confirmation? We got location. Location's awesome. Do we have indicator confirmation now? We sure do. Remember, I did all that. Indicators are saying, hey, this thing's a hell of a lot stronger than what price would lead you to believe. And the final ingredient right now is we're just hunting for some sort of market structure. And I think that big structural signal will be this W that comes in when this thing, ideally, we want to see it close above this highest clothesline level. So that's sort of like right off of that level there, right? So I keep a close eye on 39. So what's this closing high? 40. Beg your pardon. 40. No. Where the hell is that close? Close 38.69. Ooh, my favorite number. We will go 38.69. So give us a nice close above 39.70 and rock and roll. Now, that's for the investor. And I got to tell you, man, this is looking pretty damn compelling. For the trader, I might drill down to like a daily chart. And we've already got our weekly levels on the chart. And so what I would be asking is, all right, is there any way for me to sort of sneak in? There's that weekly clothesline level way up there. Is there any way for me to sort of sneak in on this trade, playing market structure because I'm feeling bullish? Hopefully everybody, now I'll preface this. Ideally, we would like to see the weekly charts turn up first, confirm that we're in a bull market, that's sort of like that Litecoin and the Tron sort of examples, and then go in and start hunting off of lower time frames. But I do understand in this space, there are people that are like, fuck it, man, I just want to try and get in off the bottom. So you can see this W that came in down here, market went shooting up. So if I wanted to be a buyer, then I would just go into laser beam focus for my reload zones off of that rally. And gee whiz, look how the market came right down to our line in the sand here, put in this really cool little tweezers bottom here, and took off right off the line in the sand. So that would be, I think, probably like that's sort of the trader's trade right down in this area here. Probably at this point, hopefully everybody can see, and I saw Colleen sort of started to talk about it before I even could call her name out. But hopefully everybody sort of, actually we could even see like a head and shoulders pattern here. Right. So this is going to be clearly an important level. If the market can accept above here, then the head and shoulders itself says that there's the head to the neckline. I want to clone that and then project that. Whoops, fudge. Project that off the top. That's going to take price up into here, which confirms that big weekly W that we were talking about. So I could very easily see somebody say, well, Brian, you know what? I like, all of the internals off that weekly chart. I'm feeling uppy about crypto. I'm going to buy this W off the dailies, which is going long at 33.8. And I'm just going to simply risk down to your line in the sand guys. And if they can't defend the market down here, then I'm just going to walk away. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. That would give you sort of a risk window that would look something like that. All right. Now, to justify taking that trade, ideally, we would like to see a realistic 2-to-1 risk reward, right? And I think you guys remember in previous shows and stuff, I insisted on how important it is that if you're going to go into the market and risk your hard-earned money, that when you're right, you get paid a multiple of how much you're going to risk. And, for all our level oneers, maybe I won't pick on Colleen. How about Crypto Odyssey? Isn't that your name? What is our minimum, Ben? All right, Ben. What's our minimum sort of risk reward that I want you level oneers sort of concentrating on? Thank you, sir. So the question is, if I'm going to take this W, where should I realistically force myself to wait for a profit, right? There's 2-to-1. That's sort of to justify doing this trade, that's sort of the minimum I have to think about to take the trade. Is that now the question you have to ask yourself is that realistic? Given this asset's history, I don't know, guys. What do you think? And the irony of it all is this isn't even a 52-week range. But if we just go after this original rally peak from last spring, right? There's May there. And we do a 50% rule just off of this range here. Where does that give us? Boom. So that is actually a nice, polite 11-to-1 risk-reward ratio. Wow. Huge. Maybe you're like, okay, Brian, I'm going to use 50% rules, but I'll do good old Ray barbecue because Ray's such a dude. And so that means I'm going to risk, and I want to force myself to stay in the trade to try and see 38.2. That's an 8-to-1 risk-reward. Wow. I think I might be inclined, what I would, if I was sort of trading this trade, I think I might be inclined to set my initial profit objective at that 2-to-1. You see that beautiful wick there that should be eaten. And, maybe sell half of the position. And then just simply move my stop on the remaining to scratch because we never really want to have a winning trade turn into a losing trade. And then gun for these insano upside targets for the remaining of the position. That would be sort of the way that I would approach this. And, there was a gentleman on the site who was like, I really like Brian's teaching, but, I have this one idea. I would really want to get like a 10-to-1. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But you got to understand that if you go balls to the wall, 10-to-1 risk reward, how many times are you going to actually get that 10-to-1? What happens if the market goes to 9-to-1 and then craps out? Did you take any profits? Do you really want to let a winning trade turn into a losing trade? I always think it's a good idea to force yourself to take some profit. That, at the very least, like I said, 2-to-1s, 3-to-1s, whatever in that area. If you want to sell some and then put your stop at break even on the remaining, and then that way you don't get hurt if the thing craps out. You can do the I'm going to gun for the moon, and I'm only going to sell when it hits 10-to-1 or higher. That's fine, but I've seen lots of situations where the market will run up and then it won't give you your fill, and then it'll crap out, and you actually turn into a losing trade. Try not to let that happen. So I would just say on first blush, if I was trading this double bottom, I would probably be gunning for that 2-to-1. Now, one thing that I do like that a lot of site members have sort of warmed up to recently, because I kind of like it, is we can actually apply the bot trade metric to this 2-to-1. And we're just going to simply say, look, we'll use the rules to try and help me manage the position. So interestingly, the bot would actually, if you're going to risk against these lows, the bot would have you try and get long off of this level. Cute little double bottom there, maybe. Front run this a little bit. That's tough. We rally up against these previous highs. Move your stop to scratch. And if it pulls back, then, just walk away. If it takes out these highs and then starts to M out, well, you can always move your stop up and just walk away. And ultimately, we're going to be gunning for this profit objective. So a few people on the site have really warmed to this idea. Grim uses it in his trading, even trading double bottoms, to great success, and it helps with anxiety. So this is also another way to approach the trade. But anyway you shake it, it's not a bad idea whatsoever. And then, as I sort of said before, because we are sort of at or below reload zones, I don't have a problem with nannies just going in and nibbling. Let's say like you can't risk more than 5% of your portfolio on this thing. So maybe you're like, 1%, 1%, 1%. All right, now I have 3, right? Maybe I'll just cool my jets and wait for, did you get a double off of this move here? That's another conversation. But I've now got myself up to like 3% invested in this name. Maybe I can add another one here. Now I'm at 4. Just don't let that number get above 5. Critical, you do not let that number get above 5%. And then, of course, nannies would adjust their average cost as we're going down here and make damn certain you have your open orders to sell halves on doubles as we pop up top. So that's sort of my opinion on IOTA. And frankly speaking, like I said, that's not a bad looking name whatsoever. I think you're definitely, whoever asked about this, I like the direction that you're thinking here. And like I said just a moment ago, if you didn't have any of this and you're brand new to this space, I wouldn't have a problem with you nanny nibbling this all day long. Just go have some fun. If you want to sort of trade this and have a little bit more confidence that your trade idea is going to work, then my recommendation would be to go through this thing, what we call the 3-step process. Okay, so that's basically that. Somebody is almost all course free for YouTube. Yeah, but the thing is do you think anybody listens? Remember, Owen, and this is such an important lesson. People will only value the information based on what they actually had to pay for the information. So the sad part about it is most of the people on YouTube, they'll watch and they think it's fun entertainment. But because you guys actually have your skin in the game and you're like, fuck, man, I want to get money out of my money that I invested. I want to get value out of this. Write this stuff down, build your trading plan, vet your setups, right? You will benefit from this. And I've watched you, Own, your maturity, and also you to Colleen. Yeah, I've literally watched the transformation. I hope you guys have been journaling this whole process. Colleen, do you remember I told you the first week of class, I wanted you journaling? Just write out how you're feeling, how you're so confused, you don't know what's going on. Good, excellent, good. And I can even see it in you guys as you're participating on the site. I can see you getting better and sharper and crisper and hunting the levels on a daily basis. I can see it in you. It's fantastic. So the YouTube, it's sort of I haven't even talked about the Twitter feed, but a big part of that, I put out a tweet recently was, maybe I should make references because it's so important. A site member actually sent me this recently, and I got to tell you, Wes, as soon as I saw it, I broke in. I could do it right now. I just broke into tears. It was just so beautiful. And the funny thing is a few people that actually watched it, they go, "Oh, you son of a bitch, you made me cry." But this is man, I mean, how ironic, right? It's by a fucking insurance company. Of all things. But, if you're watching on YouTube and you're like, what the hell is he talking about? Well, this is it right here, man. Go to my Twitter feed. I'll even just put this right in the YouTube. Just do yourself and watch this. Do yourself a favor and watch that. So a big part of what I do here for these broiler chicken shows is I'm trying to do this stuff. It's difficult for a guy like me. I'm talking, of course, to the world audience, right? It's difficult for me to actually like physically help any of you. But if I can help you through this kind of stuff, then I've done my job, right? I'm trying to make a difference in this world. I really am. And I hope a lot of the Twitter OGers and stuff like that, they make fun of me. A lot of them are really evil people. And I hope you can see the difference in what I do versus what they do. But I honestly am trying to help. That's why I do this. What does that own? Really? You don't believe I'm trying to help? I sure hope it comes across that I'm trying to help. Anyway, like backstabbing from OGs. I don't know. I don't the problem with Twitter and social media is there's no recourse for your actions. Like if we were standing face to face and you insulted me, I'd just punch you in the nose, right? That would be the end of it. We'd either just break out into a massive fist fight, or you'd be like, "Oh man, I'm sorry." But for some reason, with social media, people can say and just be really nasty and mean to you, and there's no recourse, right? Well, that's the irony of it all is that, yeah, us Canadians are super nice, Colleen, but don't get us on a hockey rink and try and steal the puck from us. Usually, you want a funny anecdote of what Canadians are like is watch a movie called Slapstick and the Hanson triplets. That's a great analogy of what Canadians are like. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to head off on a terrible tangent there. But anyway, this was a tweet that I put out recently, and really, I got to tell you, people, I love this. And when I saw this, I was just like in my Twitter feed, I just said, Brian, try and do more to help people. Just that's what you got to do. It's everything about why I'm here is I'm here to try and help you people. I really am. So anyway, go figure. I guess we could probably just talk a little bit about Twitter feed recently, and can't remember when we last did one of these. It's been a couple weeks. Let's see if there's anything that really jumps out at me that I really wanted to talk to you guys about. And how long have I been going? I've been going for like an hour and a half here. Hey, are you guys getting any value out of this? Any people on YouTube? Did any of you grab a screenshot of that? YouTubers? All right, well, I'm glad you guys here locally are enjoying yourselves. I can never tell whether the YouTube people are liking this or not. Okay, where were we? The last time I did one of these last weekend, man, I had one hell of a hangover. So I remember I bowed out of broiler chickens last Sunday, but I guess the 10th was the last time we did one of these. Do. 10th. Man, this was a while ago. Mm-hmm. Wow, how long ago was this? It was forever ago. And there's the one thing that I absolutely love is about this is, I like to use the Twitter feed as sort of like a historical record. And so you can just go back week after week after week and just see exactly what I said and did that happen or, that kind of stuff. I love that. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Per show, Wicks and Tails. There we are. So the last one we did was on the 10th. All right, so we got here. Oh man, booked a wicked win on this trade. And it was so cool. Is if you go back and look on the Twitter feed, I was like, I got just nutso bullish right on this this candle right here, and I was just like, you got to buy this thing. You got to buy this thing. And all of a sudden, it just went nuts. And of course, I got my fill, sell half on a double, so I got a free position on that stock. Love it. And I'm going to do in the stock market over the next 4 or 5 years exactly what I did in crypto there the past 4 or 5 years. By the end of this, I want to have like hundreds and hundreds of stocks that are all basically free and bought and paid for. And I just keep building out my portfolio bigger and bigger and bigger. Good analogy here. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. I remember when the market popped up top here and I was like, oh, be careful, people. And sure enough, She rolled over, came back down. This is a really interesting analogy because on this first candle body test, the market did rally back, but then eventually had to roll over and go down and eat more of that tail. Really good example. What do we got here? This is Grossling. I have no idea how to pronounce this correctly, but as you can see, nice simple logic. Buying against the bottom end of the range. Make sure to have your open order to sell half on a double, and boom, free position established. Yay. Oh yeah, I remember this. So stupid idiot Brian didn't know how to read the Binance platform correctly. Turns out I did have a bunch of this on the books and I bought it. And actually, it turns out the trade wasn't so bad after all. But thank you, Twitter people. A whole bunch of people were like, well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that. So thank you guys for at least trying to help. But it actually turns out when I looked at back, and actually, I will say one thing. The Binance people took forever for them to get back to me, but they did actually get back to me and help me. And hopefully, remember we just talked about Carpe Noctem, that Adam and Eve setup. Hopefully you can see it here. V bottom. Market comes back down. Sorry for the right over. But market comes back down, puts in a nice J-Lo booty double bottom right off of that low. And, of course, that produced the trade. What's fascinating about this, of course, remember I said earlier, if I ever tweet about something or I talk about something, usually that's the end of the move. And literally, I think that was the high. And then now the market's just sort of gone sideways for a couple of weeks. But you can see exactly where I'll be selling if this thing does decide to continue rallying. So don't be shocked if you see a banged out a double on that one down the road. Let's see. I think I have that on the screen here somewhere. Where is Loom? There it is. So that was basically that candle right there. And nothing's really changed. There's my open order, just sitting to sell half on a double. Big hurry up and do nothing. Let's see. What else do we have here? Where did that page go? Is that it? Yeah. Oscar and Daniel, they're brothers. Man, they are an incredible trading team. Great, great traders. They are my Ventura Boulevard. They're my Ventura contacts. So next time I go down to LA, I'll go north instead of south, and we'll hang out in your neck of the wood, Daniel. But this guy has basically gone through the whole education program. He's referred some people to us, his brother, right? And I would say really, really good guy to follow. Just very straightforward, no bullshit. Just what are the facts? Banging out doubles like a fucking madman. Way to go, dude. Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. Yeah, okay, so people helped. Turns out I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I've been seeing a lot, and keep in mind our level 2 program, we spend 2 full modules on GAN. So I'm constantly working with GAN, and of course I've seen a lot and really cool. Again, this is where 1 + 1 = 3. Somebody on the site actually sent me this kick-ass fucking cool website that this lady does, WD GAN, analysis of astrology. And really a lot of what GAN did was just simply astrological alignments. So it's such a cool page. And we were trying to figure out on the site what Bitcoin's birthday was, so that we could do up a horoscope on Bitcoin. And somebody did on the site actually sent me a really cool detailed report on Bitcoin. It's just that I have so many messages. I get so overwhelmed. I've lost the damn report. So I know, whoever you are who sent me that, just send me another, hey, Brian, it was me. And the report's just above on the site, PM me. And so then, you guys got to understand on the site, this is what my user list looks like. I mean, it goes on and 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 on. It just keeps going and going and going. And I'm constantly getting messages from people. So thank you so much, whoever sent me that horoscope. Just Send me, Brian, it was me, note again. And then when I see your message, I'll save the damn document. I totally appreciate you, whoever you were. It's just that I'm such a bubblehead, I lost it. Okay, that was that loom. Really interesting to watch Ethereum here. This is, a rising wedge pattern. And usually it ends bearishly and it projects downside targets into this area. And I think that's basically what happened on this thing. There is one site member who said, Brian, you don't talk too much about triangles and wedges and stuff. So that one was just for you, 47, wherever you are. And actually, I even tweeted out a Boeing chart. Perfect example of a triangle here, Mr. 47. So go and grab that. And just for the record, now you see that I do talk about triangles. Where were we? Okay, so that was is that there? Yeah. So that was the first consolidation off a sort of a bearish wedge. I don't know. It's a tough one. There is sort of further. Actually, this is Bitcoin, so you can see how it was sort of painting that consolidation as well. And really, I didn't know how this was going to turn out. Whether we were going to rally up and then fail in reload zones, or we were going to dump. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we did both. But we'll see that in a bit. Really, hopefully you keep seeing the same message from me over and over and over. Colleen, can you see the W's coming in here and then reload zones? All right. This is the stuff that you guys got to learn. Just rinse and repeat. It's the same thing over and over and over. No guarantees, but I'll tell you, the odds are in your favor. I was talking about ADA breaking out back on March 11th. That's how long ago that was. I was really worried that crypto might poop its pants following the Brexit event, but from what I understand, basically this has turned into a non-event. They just keep kicking the can down the road, so go figure. Never, it didn't crap out following that event because I just don't even think it was an event. All right, so price did dump. There's that rising wedge that I mentioned on Ethereum before, and price right into that sort of bear flag window that I was thinking. And then price just quickly ratcheted right out of there. And, this is a great analogy of wicks and tails like to be eaten. And there was a cheeky little price gap that needed to be filled. And the interesting thing is that this technically is not filled in, but really great sort of analysis of why the market did pivot off of that level. So try and learn from those gaps. They're so powerful. More banging out doubles. Just doing what I do. And actually, it's kind of interesting. This is a coin that I had mentioned when I did that interview with Dav. I gave you 3 or 4 different names. So it's not really like any one was better than the other. But it was awfully nice to see. And I do remember talking about this where I was like, geez, the price action here is looking really interesting. So it was good to see that one worked out nicely. As I said, this turned into a non-event. I was thinking that we were going to dump, but nothing really came of it. So go figure. And again, this is really important about me as I hold myself to account. So I even said here, sometimes I'm actually happy when my read is wrong. Case in point. I was thinking, all hell was going to break loose here. They had the permission to, and nothing developed. So I was like, phew. This guy here is one of the sort of crypto OGers. I think he's a pretty nice guy. I would recommend following him. Pretty smart guy. It's interesting how there was one guy on the internet who was claiming this image as his own. And anybody who actually made reference to this image, he would sort of shit all over you. Oh, you're stealing my stuff, man. So I don't know whether that gentleman did that to this person, but the weird thing is, like I was talking about an inverted price chart, and I've been inverting price charts since I think before this guy was even born. And for some reason, he decided to come out and say, "You're stealing my ideas. You're stealing my ideas." And we were like, "You're an idiot." So I thought it was kind of funny that this guy here, who I highly respect in this space, I wonder if he caught shit from that gentleman's viewership that this guy's stealing his stuff. But really, I mean, it's very normal, very typical. Um, and if anybody says that some sort of particular technical analysis idea is theirs, keep in mind that a lot of the stuff that I teach on my program was actually developed like over a century ago. So the irony of it all is that young guys come into the space and they're like, "Oh, this is my idea. Don't steal it. Fuck off." And they don't even realize that there were people doing this stuff exactly what they're talking about, like before their grandparents were born. So it's the universe's information. Yet another example of buying when they're crying. Can you force yourself to step up and buy into these names when nobody else wants them? I mean, that's really the key to making money at this game, ironically enough. So go figure. Um, holy moly, crazy ass wicks and tails. I still think because we're in our chop Vegas market, we are going to be seeing a lot of this kind of choppy action that drives all the lower time frame players that are trading off like 100x margin. It's going to drive them crazy. But that's the hallmark of chop Vegas markets is a lot of these stop wins. Actually, I was a bit surprised to hear that Tether is now back in the news, saying that they don't have assets to actually back up the Tether. I was like, oh boy, here we go again. I gave up on all these stable coins for the record, right? I gave up on these stable coin ideas a while ago, and I don't have any interest in them. I don't know whether it probably doesn't show here. But here it is here. I tried to believe in the stablecoin idea, and then Tether went through this nonsense. And I mean, it's one thing if you got like $50 in this thing, and it's like, so what? If you got like hundreds of thousands of dollars in these fucking things, you don't want to see this. This is crazy, right? So yeah, I mean, it turns out that it was a head fake, and things corrected themselves. But I put a bunch of money into that new bits, and that one crapped out. So you just don't know with these things. And anybody who says that their coin is a stable coin, you can bank on it. I'm from Missouri. FUs all over the board. Classic chop Vegas market action. Get used to it, people. And if you're trading off of lower time frames, you're gonna get stopped out. I mean, remember, nobody's right 100% of the time. Just make damn sure that you don't get caught. This guy's also another pretty smart crypto OGer. So he's saying keep an eye out on this AE. Again, forcing yourself to buy in against the bottom end of ranges. And I find it really interesting, right, that a lot of these guys that did very, very well on the way up the last cycle, they're starting to come back into the market. We haven't heard, stuff from these guys in literally a year or two. And now they're starting to slowly come back in and say, hey, this one's looking interesting. This is looking interesting. The TRI SOF trade, I won't get into that today with you guys. Stuart, should we talk about the DDoS or should we just not bother? Anyway. You had said that we had a DDoS. You remember that? Should we talk about it? Does it make any difference? All right. Shh means no. Yeah, okay. Yeah, talk about it with the community. Anyway, site went down for a little bit. it came back all in good time, so no big deal. If anything, I think it's actually a good thing that these clowns are finally gone from the crypto space because, I've made the argument all along. This CBOE stands for Chicago Board Options Exchange. What on earth are they doing listing a futures contract for Bitcoin? It's idiocy. It's stupidity. Clearly, this is all about the corrupt nature of what happened with that CME launch and how it just stunk like yesterday's garbage kind of thing. So I'm actually kind of pleased to see that these guys are basically leaving the space. They did their fuckery. The guys who wanted to move this market and make a shitload of money off it, they did what they wanted. Now let's hope they get impeached and we can move on in life. Beautiful example again, Colleen. Hopefully you can see just textbook example of Wyckoff. Everything that I'm trying to teach you in this course, Colleen, is right there in that image right there. Really shouldn't shock anybody. Interesting question. Andre asked, after the level 1, do we still have access to the site before we start level 2, or should I have a subscription? Technically, at the end of your level 1 program, there should be a firm end date. And really, the incentive is to register for the upcoming level 2 program, of which we just give you basic site membership until the program starts up, or just sign up for a regular basic site membership if you don't really have any interest in continuing on the education program. But what we do, sort of incentive, is if you do sign up for the level 2 program, Andre, then we'll just give you site membership up until the program actually starts. So, if it takes a couple months till the next program starts up, well, you get free site access until then. Yeah, and then of course, if you do all 3 levels of the education program, then basically you get grandfathered on the site for basic site membership. Starting to see the chinks in the armor for the Canadian real estate market. And of course, we've been talking about this at length, ad nauseum, for quite a while. And actually, it's interesting because right at the end of the week, I even started to post out that Canadian banks are starting to come into my shorting locations again. So I'm getting super jazzed about loading up on the put options for the Canadian banks again. And this is the Canadian Bank Stock Index ETF. So I'm probably going to be starting to accumulate positions on this thing. But it shouldn't surprise anybody that, and I found it interesting, somebody even found an article from middle of February where institutional players are getting really jazzed about shorting Canadian and Australian banks. And they believe that it's going to be a function of the unwinding of the credit bubble in China, which, frankly speaking, that bubble's gone on for 10 years. And now we have Winnie the Pooh, who's running the show as a totalitarian dictator. And really, that capitalist story's over. At some point, somebody's going to wake up one day and go, fuck it, man, I got to get out of here. And the whole market's just going to tip over. So, Canada, of course, saw just a ridiculous amount of hot money come into this market. The real estate market is so stupidly overvalued that Canadians themselves can't even afford a home. I mean, you have to be a millionaire to buy a house in Vancouver. And that's in like absolutely shitty neighborhoods. I mean, this is stupidity. So at some point, this has to correct. It has to clean itself up. I remember during the U.S. housing market, I was a broker through then, and we used to make a joke when you sit down with clients. The question wouldn't be, do you own your own home? The question was, well, how many homes do you own? And of course, that had to change. People aren't naturally supposed to own 3, 4, 5 homes. So that market blew up and all that nonsense ended. And I would argue that it's only a question of time until this silly Canadian real estate market cleans itself up. And if you want a really good sort of explanation, fundamentalist, I'm an institutional guy, these are the institutional arguments, blah, 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 I would strongly suggest listening to this guy. I think he has his head on straight. So, what a surprise. We're starting to get news that the Canadian real estate market is starting to buckle. Big surprise. What a shock. Really interesting. Milton Friedman, I think it is, actually predicted the advent of cryptocurrencies 10, 20, 30 years ago. Kind of a cool piece. All right, so that takes us up to last weekend. I'm only 1 week behind now. That's good. Of course, we had the Fed through the middle of the week, so it made a lot of sense why the market acted the way that it did heading into the Fed. And then, of course, we've had now special prosecutors' reports being disseminated. The Fed has done its thing, and ironically enough, this guy's now actually made to look like a total idiot. Yes, the economy's hot enough to raise rates. Yes, we got to raise rates. We got to raise rates. Got to raise rates. And then now he's like, oh, shit, I raised too much. Oh, no. Okay, no, we're not going to raise rates anymore. And now what you're going to find, of course, is that, who knows what happens out of this political scandal down in the States. If nothing happens of it, maybe the stock market rips up to new highs. And then he's going to have to come back out and go, oh, no. You know what? We got to raise rates again, whatever. Market's just playing with him. But the point is that, he's supposed to be, one of our site members, and you are American, aren't you, Colleen? I think you are. She's saying that the U.S. political scandal situation, there's supposed to be some sort of report that's supposed to be disseminated in the next hour or two. So you might actually find Bitcoin moves on that. We'll see what happens. WD Gann, of course, love him. And as I showed you earlier, watching lots of really cool videos on astrology and stuff out of Gann. Did this, and actually this is really cool because you don't see this every day. For our level 2 program, we also do a module on point and figure charting. And I thought it was really interesting that actually point and figure charting actually gave a buy signal on Bitcoin on the 18th of March. Go figure, eh? And these guys, whenever you see signals on point and figure charts, that's actually pretty important. I don't even think many people in the marketplace even notice this. But, like things like the bullish percentage index, what they measure sort of sentiment on the New York Stock Exchange, it's based off of point and figure buy and sell signals. So I thought this was fascinating that we actually got a buy signal on the point and figure charts on Bitcoin, and yet nobody in the market is even the slightest bit interested. That really fascinated me. So I even tweeted it out. And of course, look at all the responses. Crickets, right? Nobody's even the slightest bit interested. Okay, so we did the BATT, Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk show on Wednesday. It was a lot of fun checking back in with them. And actually, I showed sort of their dashboard, and I set up my dashboard to report options prices. I'm not quite sure if this is set up correctly or not. Might be, I have to go like that. Yeah, there we are. So this is a really cool setup just to watch options on Bitcoin. Can only do this on Coinigy. Very, very impressive, Coinigy. Way to go, guys. Very impressive. Yeah, so I was really worried about this simple trend line here. And, whether we were going to accept above it or below it. If we lose this trend line, then I think we have to come back down to this trend line, which happens to be reload zones, bottom of value, Hogue sitting down here. Market symmetry was sort of suggesting that we needed to sort of replicate this kind of dumping action at some point. Maybe that happens now. I don't know. It was, I was basically watching for this M to develop, but it never came in. We actually perked a little bit higher, and now I think we're back to flirting with that trend line again. So if we go just quickly, maybe, and I know I've been talking forever, people are probably like, holy Jesus, this guy ever stop talking? And the answer is nope. Right, Fjord? Right, where is that? So I guess we could do it off a stamp here. I think that was that chart. So that was this trend line. And, it's the same thing I said on the Coinage show. Uh-oh, this doesn't look good. So if we lose this trend line, next key support is a long way down. Maybe the market was waiting for the dissemination of that all-important report. I don't know. But if we go boobity-boo, there to there, and I don't know, where's that low lower? Let's see. Low 22.20 and 28. Oh, it is. Okay, so there to there. All right, so, oh boy, this looks dangerous. So we got an inside bar here after the trend line failure. And the rule is on trend lines, you have to wait for a market structure signal on the other side of the trend line to actually fire the trade idea. So I would call this like the bull bear battle lines off of that high there. And then off of that low there. Whichever way this thing breaks, there's your signal. So if we can somehow get our butts back above here, maybe we go back up and test this trend line from the underside. I've seen that happen lots. If we lose this candle that lost the trend line, and that was what busted this little bot that we were talking about in the Coinage shows, if we lose that low, then I think it's lights out. So we go down to a lower time frame. Let's see what it looks like there. All right, so and I can't move that, can I? Frustrating. Let's get rid of this stuff. All right, so there is that all-important trend line I was talking about. There is the failure. Oh boy. I know lots of traders who would probably be more than happy to be short right off of that level there. M top. So you can see we got a huge notch in here. So my hunch is, for whatever it's worth, probably going to have to come down and fill that good old muak. And of course, if we do fail in here and we accept into value, then 80% of the time, just looking at this range, but I have a feeling if we look at the entire range, yeah, that's what I'm worried about here. Is how far do we go? I guess there's the bottom there. So if we look at this range, you don't even see the muak anymore. So the question is, have we accepted outside of value? You can see that that was rejected. And actually, you might even argue this move out was outside of value back into value. Rallied up. I think this is like a reload zone. There, up to there. And RLZ, there we go. So, if you believe this was a trading range, wow. Damn. That's a hell of a trade level. The trend line break, first market structure signal on the other side of the trend line. I could completely understand if guys wanted to be short off of this M, looking for a stab lower, and really, based on this, wow, is that ever a big muak there? And then there's also another muak right down here. So lots of unfilled business down below here. And there is that original trend line that we drew off at the bottom. So the rule is if we accept back into value 80% of the time, we should trade down to value low. So if we puke out here, my hunch is we got to come back all the way down to here. Now we're probably going to find, right, just because this is such a sharp move, probably going to find that this goes like AB, and then on that CD, right? And gee whiz, that's the POC. Big surprise. And there's also that juicy FU move that we were talking about earlier. So my hunch is there's probably going to be some action around here. You know, guys who were short here and then they got caught offside, they're going to want to cover their positions in that tail. And then AB equals CD. These guys are going to want to take profits. And this is the POC, the point of control. And then, like we said, if we zoom in on just this range here in the short term, yeah, see how you can see how if we go off of that big old tail there, notice that's what we like to call that a muwak, right? This whole area here should be filled in, and notice that that's that AB equals CD objective. So my hunch is if we puke out here, we're probably going to come down into this area, then rally back and ask whether we actually really want to be below value now. Anyway, you shake it, long ideas. I think we're still cooling our jets. If we look at things like momentum, don't really have a heck of a lot to work with. Willie's not really either overbought, over or sold. Kind of wishy-washy, middle of the road. You can see the bear really woke up. Bearish divergences all fired in here. So, those people that are hunting trades, they're going to be hunting any kind of market structure on this side. You can see actually another little bear divergence just came in and fired there. So I can completely understand traders wanting to get short from here. They probably have to risk this M right here. So if the market ratchets back up there, then they probably want to get out. And then, again, we could apply our sort of bot rules to this. So there's the top. Our target's way down there. Bot trade. Reverse that. All right, what a surprise. There is the 25 level. You could have front run this a little bit. If we hit this level, come back down into this tail, and she starts reversing, then probably best just to hop at scratch. It means that we can't reject the POC. Market wants to be back at the POC. If we can break this low and we start dumping in earnest and we hit this level, then we can start locking in profits. With the ultimate objective of us coming right back down into this area. And probably two, what do you think the odds are that if I draw a fib from that high back down to that low, we're going to get a reload zone somewhere in this area here? Probably pretty good. And so, Colleen, this is what I really needed for you to take away from this program was, do you see how we have AB equals CD, extension levels line up with reload zones? This is a tough concept for new people to see in trading. So I'm not going to say it's easy, but do you see how, in essence, 127.2 extension level, very powerful extension level, happens to line up with Mountain Man. And oh, gee whiz, 1.618. Remember, we saw that on things like, what was that? That BNB coin. It lines up nicely with 78.6. And gee whiz, that will take us right down into basically the start of that nutso tail action. Or you could really argue that this whole bull run was actually initiated off of this fuck you move here. Does that make sense? Hope so. So, actually, that's not a bad little sort of roadmap for us to follow. If we can get our butts back up above this level, then this bearish scenario is off the table. But my hunch is we probably have to work our way down into these levels down here. Actually, that's kind of I'm going to post that in the lounge. Let's sort of keep an eye on this as the week progresses. Where are we here? I've got my million names on the site. I can't believe, honestly, how many site members we actually have, Stuart. It's a lot. All right, so there we go. All right. I've been talking now for 2 hours, so I think I'm probably going to leave it at that, guys. We got some value out of today's conversation, Stuart. And everybody understand. I think this is really important message, especially you YouTubers. A lot of people are like, "Man, why don't you do this for free? Why don't you give this away for free?" Well, Stuart actually is a business partner of mine, and he's the guy. He's like the brains behind all this. There's no way I could have any of this built without Stuart. And of course, Julian, our other partner, is sort of like all right, let's stay focused. We got to get this done, right? Our chief operations officer, trying to keep all this sort of, the pieces together, trying to, corral Brian when he starts losing it and stuff. So I couldn't do it without these guys. And, Stuart has a baby at home. So really, I'm working for Maud. Am I allowed to say her name? Well, I just did. Sorry. So there has to be some sort of charge associated with running this site. I mean, it takes a lot of work to just keep all this stuff up and running and going. We're not becoming millionaires running this site. The prices that we charge are just way too cheap. I heard some guy on I couldn't believe this. Some guy to subscribe to his monthly newsletter, to listen to him just spoon feed through email stories that he actually gleans from other people. He's charging people $500 a month for his newsletter. And we charge like 30, 40 bucks a month for this. And we do this stuff like an hour, 2 hours every single day. I mean, it's ridiculous. We could easily charge 10 times the price that we do for this. So the point here is that we're not here to get rich off you. And I've been sitting here for like 2 hours talking to you YouTubers, and there's like 60, 70 of you people there. I know there'll be like 1,000 people that watch this later on. And like somebody just said in the lounge here, geez, you're getting the whole damn course for free. So anyway, the point of the matter here is that I do have to charge something. We keep the prices very, very low. But at the same time, too, remember that our insurance salesman guy, this is really where the place that I come from with everything that I do with you people. I honestly, it's from the bottom of my heart. It's my wife, bless her heart. She just had her 8th year death anniversary. She's driving the bus from the other side. I follow their lead religiously. I really do. What the hell is it? But I got to tell you, if there's one thing that if I had a theme in my life, and I'll probably spend the rest of my life doing this, but if I had a theme and I could give this stuff away for free, the irony of it all, though, guys, is that, you people on YouTube, you're only going to value this as much as what you have to pay for it. So the irony of it all is that you guys actually, it's not really in your best interest to get this information for free. But the point of the matter here is that this is who Brian is, or I'd like to be. I think I'll leave the video at that. You guys have a great day. Try to play from a position of strength. If you need some help getting yourself pointed in the good direction, like all our site people, who take the education programs, I always say, don't listen to Brian and sales pitches about Brian. Listen to our actual students who've gone through the program. Have I helped them? Have I made a difference? And I think the resounding answer is yes. So God bless. Try and play from a position of strength. Don't take no wooden nickels. Remember what your number one job is to do every single day. Everybody on the site knows what it is. I'm going to go give my son as best of an afternoon as I can. I'll see you all soon. God bless. All the best. Bye for now.